Hey, walruses. Hello, whales. Hello, otters. Welcome back to Storytime Chess from Home. This is lesson 2, episode 2. I don't know what we want to call it. Anyway, hi, it's Mr. Tim from the Goddard School. And welcome back. Last time we were together at chess, we reviewed all of our pieces. We talked about how to set up your board, how to start your game, and how to get that all going. You might remember some of the pieces we talked about. They're still up there on the board behind me, right? Our knights up top, our queen, right? Queen Grendel in our stories. Our kings, King Fisher and King Spassky. Our pawns, all their kids, right? 8 of them each. Our bishops and our rooks. But this week, we're going to start off with a new story from our Storytime Chess book. And this one stars one of our favorite characters, King Fisher. We've, of course, read quite a few stories about. And this week's lesson tells us about some different ways to use the pieces to make them more powerful on the board. At the end of last week's lesson, I mentioned the kitchen. So put that in your brain right now and remember that for the end of our story. It's one of the last things we talk about today, but we have to remember that's the most important piece of the board. So this story starts off with our good friend King Fisher waking up in the morning and getting ready for his breakfast in bed. Just as he was doing that, suddenly one of his servants runs into the room and looks really, really frightened. He says, King Fisher, there's someone here to play you at chess. King Fisher says, in his King Fisher voice, of course. Well, who is it? Who's so important they would bother me when I'm getting ready for my breakfast? The servant shook his head and said, I'm too scared to tell you who it is. Your opponent said to meet him in the living room. And as soon as he was done speaking, he's out the door, ran away in fear. No, King Fisher was not afraid of, anything. So he finished his breakfast and he slowly went down to the living room where he saw his chess set was already set up. But there was no opponent waiting for him. Hello? Hello? Is anyone here? Who's going to play me in chess? And he was answered with a loud boom. It sounded like a heavy footstep from the hallway. It sounded really big. Boom, boom. And it sounded like it was getting closer. Now, he was maybe starting to be a little bit afraid. Who's there? He called. Who's coming to play me in chess? And there were just more booms. Boom, boom. Finally, he looked over at the door and it started to shake. And it started to pop open, and he thought he saw a little bit of smoke even coming from beneath it. Finally, it burst open, and there appeared this guy. Who is he? He's a dragon. The dragon walked in. Doom, doom, doom. Hello, King Fisher. My name is Kasparov, and I'm here to play you at chess. Well, King Fisher was very confused. He said, You're a dragon. Yes. And you play chess. Obviously. As we know, all dragons do. In fact, I'm very good at chess. Oh, are you? Well, why don't we play and we'll find out. So King Fisher and Kasparov agreed to play, and the game began. King Fisher would move his pieces with his hands, and Kasparov would move them with his tail. Finally, at the end of the game, King Fisher moved his queen and used it to capture his king, Kasparov's king, by putting him in checkmate. The game was over, and King Fisher won. Kasparov was a little bit sad in his defeat, and you can imagine you probably don't want to make a dragon too upset, but they still showed good sportsmanship at the end, and each said, good game to each other. Kasparov said, though, before he left, I'll be back, and I'll be back to play you very soon. And Kasparov flew off. Well, Kasparov could not stop thinking about losing at chess to King Fisher. He'd never lost a game of chess before, and King Fisher was probably the best player he'd ever played. So he started to think to himself, Where could I get help to learn a new move that could help me beat Kingfisher at chess? So he thought about it for a while, and he decided he would fly on a mission to find out and find someone who could help him. So he did. He flew across mountains, he flew across valleys, he flew across our screen until he came to a deep, dark canyon. And when he got there, he flew straight down. He headed down and down into the dark of the canyon until he came to a very deep lake at the bottom. He looked at the lake and looked for one of his old friends. He said, Tal, are you down there? All that happened was the lake bubbled a little bit. Tal, it's time to come out. Finally, someone did arrive, and it was this creature. A giant octopus. Because we all know dragons and giant octopuses, always close friends. So Tal popped out of the water and said, what do you want? You woke me up from my nap. This is not okay. Why are you here? And Kasparov said, I need your help. And he explained the whole game of chess to Tal and how he could beat Kingfisher and how he needed help. Tal finally said, listen, I'm cranky, I'm crabby, I don't know what you want, it's time for you to go away. That's when Kasparov suggested a trade. He said, how about this? I use my dragon's breath to warm this whole cave up. It's a little chilly down here. And you give me some hints, because you're the smartest guy I know, about how to beat Kingfisher at chess. Tal thought about it, and he said, okay, you warm the place up. So he did. So he used his dragon breath, warmed the whole cave up, and Tal finally said, thank you, it is much better down here. Now, as for a clue, here you go. It's a riddle, and it goes like this. Don't count to 3. Be like me. What does that mean? With that, Tal swam back to the bottom of the lake. Kasparov thought about it for a while. Don't count to 3. Be like me. So he thought about the riddle for a while. He figured it out. He flew back across the screen to find Kingfisher, and he challenged him to a whole new game of chess. So this time they played again. Kingfisher took some of his pieces. He took some of Kingfisher's pieces. But in the end, the advice that Tal gave him paid off, and Kasparov won the game of chess against Kingfisher. Let's think about a way that could have happened. Tal gave him a clue. He said, don't count to 3. Be like me. Well, this clue is actually about one of our favorite characters in our stories, too. One of the pieces, and I'll give you a hint about this piece. Are you ready? Okay. Number 1, it's the only one that looks like an animal. It's the only piece that can jump. And in their story, they go on a big quest looking for the best grass to eat. Who is it? It's Clip and Clop. It's the knights, right? So in particular, he talks about using the knights to win this game. And he says, don't count to 3. Be like me. Let's talk about what that means. So on our chessboard, when the knights start off, they start off in the back row. They're back there with the queen, the king, the bishop, and the rooks. When they're back there and they make their first move, they can only reach 3 spots on the board. The trick is to get your knights to the middle of the board, because when any piece is in the middle, it becomes a lot stronger. It can reach a lot more places. So when it's in the back, it can only reach 3. When we get to the middle, the number of spaces it can get to and pieces it can capture goes all the way up to 8. So I think that was probably Tal's hint, especially since he's an octopus and he has 8 arms. So I think that was his big clue when he talked about that. So we're going to look at a picture on my book. I'm going to hold it up to the screen for you here. And let's see what that looks like. So in our book, we see when our knights are in the back, look, these are the 3 spots they can reach. They can go gallop, gallop, step to the side, gallop, gallop, step to the side, or gallop, gallop, and step to the side. But After you make a couple moves and you get that knight to the middle of the board, look at all the different places he can reach by just doing gallop, gallop, step to the side. Just like he would from the back end, right? But when he's in the middle, he can reach so many more spaces. On our board, we need to pick a special name for that center of the board. You see this area where our knight is? It's going to be about those 4 boxes in the middle. And like I said before, do you know what we're going to call that? We're going to call that the kitchen. Why? Because it's the best place in your house. We all know that, right? It's the most important place. It's where all the good snacks are. It's where your refrigerator is, so you can grab, a juice box or Sunny D or a, seltzer, whatever you got. So in the center of our board is where we want to get our best pieces, because when you're trying to capture the other team, this is the best spot to do it from. It lets you reach the furthest and the most spots. So you can take those pieces and take charge of the game. So we're going to take a little walk. Are you ready? Okay, bear with me. Let's see how this goes. Oh, look down here. Here's our chessboard. So on our chessboard, when we start a game, remember, the white team always starts first. Why? Because that's the rule that somebody made up a very long time ago. When the white team begins, you have a couple pieces you can move. You can move any of your pawns in the front, or you can move your knights by doing a gallop, gallop, step to the side, and go either way. When you do that, you want to keep in mind getting your pieces to the middle. Here's our kitchen on the real board, right? Right here in the middle. So a couple of ways you can do that during your first couple moves is to move your pawns into the kitchen by using their 1 or 2 spaces. The other team might do the same. And then start to get your knights toward the middle by going gallop, gallop, step to the side. On your next move, maybe after the other team moves, and we'll just move one of the black team's pieces, you can do a gallop. Actually, let's change directions just for the sake of this one. Ready? Gallop, gallop, step to the side. And you might want to get these pieces to the middle. It lets you reach the most spots from here. On your next move, you go all the way up here, or you could go this direction and reach out. So that's the advantage to getting to the kitchen in the middle of your board. So when you start your games, you've got a lot of choices about how to get there, but in the end, you want your best pieces to come towards this kitchen and towards the middle of the board. So this week, we talked about making our pieces more powerful by getting them to the center of the board. We learned about this area that we call it the kitchen. We learned about using our knights to get there. And we heard a story about King Fisher playing his first chess game against a new opponent. Pretty exciting, right? Next week, we'll be back with the next mission in chess. And we'll find out a couple of more strategy moves we can make to make the game go a little bit better and win. That's it. Thanks for doing Storytime Chess with Mr. Tim, Walruses and Otters and Whales. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys soon and doing it in person rather than on Zoom. Thanks and take care.